So we're going to look at a new type of function that can be used to model different situations. Like last year, we looked at linear functions, graphing lines, and properties of them. Earlier this year, we looked at quadratic functions, okay, and how we could use them to model actual situations. And this type is called absolute. We're actually going to do two types in this unit. We're going to do absolute value functions and we're going to do rational functions. So if I said the absolute value, those of you that are familiar with it, because it sounded like a couple of you were, if I said the absolute value of 4, what is it? 4. If I said the absolute value of -6, what is it? -6? I see some of you attempting to try and say something. 6? Okay. So I'm sorry, it's just a new look. It looks good. Well, okay, then I want you to stop looking at me while I'm up here. All right. Yes, the absolute value of -6 is 6, and the absolute value of 4 is 4. Can you think of a definition of absolute value?
It would be like the number, but positive. And then only the absolute value cannot have been decimals or like.
Oh, it could. I mean, you could have the absolute value of -3.2.
Absolute, but could it be? It needs to be determined as positive. It's like negative.
Yes, yeah, you are right about that. Or another way we could say it. So the absolute value of a number represents how far it is from 0. So like if I ask you the absolute value of 7, I'm asking you how far is 7 from 0? And if I ask you the absolute value of -15, I'm asking you how far is -15 from 0? And it's 15, right? It's not -15, it's 15. And we use vertical bars to represent absolute value. And just like we talked about a couple seconds ago, the absolute value of any positive number is always positive. The absolute value of any negative number is going to be positive. The absolute value of 0 is 0. So let's just look at a couple of examples. So what is this telling you? It's saying the absolute value of -12. 12. The absolute value of 7. 7. Okay. So when they're standalone like that, it's pretty straightforward. But sometimes you may see them in more complex expressions, like you see down here. And when we have absolute value expressions, absolute value in an expression that we're evaluating, treat them like parentheses. when following mass. Some of you may know that by a slightly different name, but that's something that we use for order of operations. So P represents parentheses or any other type of grouping symbols like brackets, square ones, braces. Okay, that'll also include absolute value. E is exponents. D and M go together, right? Whatever appears first when you're going from left to right, and addition and subtraction from left to right. So just keep that in mind when we work through these. So I've actually got something to do in the parentheses section. I've got to take the absolute value of these first and then subtract those two answers. So the absolute value of 3, the absolute value of -8, so it becomes 3 subtract 8, which is -5. Okay. For this one, treat them like parentheses, so I'm going to do what's inside first. And 7 minus 2 obviously gives me 5. But notice we haven't taken the absolute value yet. So we still have to work on this. And when we do work on it, well, the absolute value of 5 is 5, and I'm still timesing by 4, right? So what should I put around the 5? Parentheses. So here I've done the operation in the absolute value bars. Here I've done the actual absolute value, and now it's just 5 minus 20. See if you can do this one. What do I do first? Sorry? I'm hearing a faint voice in the distance. It sounded like somebody said Q take away 5, which if they said it louder would be absolutely correct and confidently stated. Okay. Next, maybe we can do all this in one shot. Do I do this times this first or this first?
Square.
Right. So this gives me times this. Okay. And then when you add those two together, we get -21. Notice the absolute value bars are still there. My next step, I'm actually going to do it. And because I'm multiplying, I have to change the absolute value bars to parentheses. So that will give me what? -84. Good. Finally, and this is going to be, because we're going to actually start doing absolute value equations, we're going to see what their graphs look like. Just to get you to think a little bit, what numbers or expressions have an absolute value of 5? Right. So that's actually dealing with solving an absolute value equation. Like if you said, here's the mathematical way of asking what I just did. So, so what could X be? Well, X could be
positive 5 because the absolute value is this, or it could be negative 5.
We're going to be looking at that more later on.
And then this would be very simple, x and negative x.
And that's it. That's it to start.
Next step will be, we're going to see what their graphs look like. And then we're going to see how we can solve equations with absolute value.